Only Edsel has the sleek, clean line design.
The great new Chrysler, the possible dream.
Gull-wing doors rise effortlessly, beckoning you inside.
Ever wondered why some cars vanish from the roads faster than they appeared in showrooms? While a few models become timeless classics, others crash and burn, leaving behind stories of bold experiments, bizarre designs, and marketing disasters. From cars that promised futuristic brilliance but delivered nothing but breakdowns to flashy rides that nobody wanted to buy, the automotive world has seen plenty of epic flops. In this video, we're diving into 25 old car models that failed miserably. Vehicles so disappointing, they've become legends for all the wrong reasons. Buckle up, because some of these failures are funny, some are shocking, and some will make you wonder, what were they even thinking? The Edsel has become the poster child of automotive failure. Ford launched it with sky-high expectations, massive advertising, bold styling, and a belief that it would fill a gap between Ford and Mercury. But right out of the gate, the car faced disasters. Buyers were confused by its odd vertical grille and undecided identity. Mechanics hated its complicated push-button transmission.
Only Edsel has the sleek, clean line design that sets it apart from the look-alike car.
And quality control was spotty. Sales tanked. Ford lost something like $250 to $300 million on it. Today, Edsel is a byword for a flop. With that example of overconfidence crashing down, let's move on to another strange flop from General Motors. In the early 1980s, Cadillac wanted a small luxury car to compete with European brands. The Cimarron was essentially a rebadged Chevrolet Cavalier with minor cosmetic tweaks and a steep Cadillac price tag. But buyers saw through it. They didn't want a dressed-up economy car with a luxury badge. Performance was meek. It lacked the character Cadillac customers expected.
Cadillac Cimarron 84. This one's got the touch. Clean, crisp, fun to drive.
And the American press lambasted it as everything that was wrong about 1980s General Motors planning sales were weak, and General Motors admits the Cimarron damaged Cadillac's brand image for years. Now, from rebadged disasters, let's shift gears to a quirky 1970s sports coupe, the Bricklin SV1. The Bricklin SV1 was promised as the ultimate all-weather safety sports car. Gull-wing doors, fiberglass body, bold styling. But reality didn't match the dream. The manufacturing process was chaotic. Parts were delayed, quality control was terrible, and costs ballooned. Workers went on strike.
The Bricklin, with safety as the most important design factor. Dramatic styling, luxurious interior.
Suppliers dropped out. The price nearly doubled in 2 years, chasing away customers. Only around 2,800 cars ever left the factory. Though it looked flashy, the performance was underwhelming for the weight, and buyers wouldn't forgive the reliability problems. From Canadian-American wishful thinking to homegrown innovation gone wrong, next up is a visionary car that fell victim to scandal. The Tucker 48, aka Tucker Torpedo, was ahead of its time. Rear engine, four-wheel independent suspension, disc brakes, safety features.
With futuristic engineering and pioneering safety features that were way ahead of their time.
But the company was too ambitious, undercapitalized, and became the target of regulatory scrutiny. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, launched an investigation. The press ran wild stories, and negative publicity crippled sales, even though executives were eventually cleared of wrongdoing. Only about 50 cars were built before operations collapsed. In short, innovation plus scandal plus money troubles equals disaster. But before Tucker, there was a true early 20th century failure. The Chrysler Newport was introduced as a full-size luxury sedan aimed at competing with the likes of Cadillac and Lincoln. While it offered spacious interiors and a smooth ride, it struggled with identity issues. Positioned between the more affordable Chrysler models and the high-end Imperials,
Your next car, the great new Chrysler, the possible dream.
the Newport often found itself in a no-man's land, lacking the prestige of its competitors, but priced higher than the entry-level models. Its conservative styling and lack of standout features failed to capture the market's attention. Despite its long production run, the Newport never achieved the iconic status Chrysler had hoped for, eventually being phased out in the early 1980s. The AMC Gremlin was American Motors Corporation's gamble to grab buyers during the oil crisis by offering a subcompact that looked fun and saved gas.
Gremlin is priced with the imports, gets better gas mileage than any other car made in America.
It was literally a Hornet with its tail chopped off and a hatchback rear grafted on. But that bold trim couldn't hide the flaws. Its styling was awkward. Proportions looked off. Buyers expected real economy, but the Gremlin's performance, especially with the larger 6 cylinders, was shaky. Moreover, AMC did little over its lifespan to update the styling, fix the sloppy build quality, or improve comfort. After initial curiosity sales, demand dropped sharply as competitors from Japan offered better quality, more fuel efficiency, and less weirdness. Because the Gremlin showed how novelty without execution fails, next up is a car that promised sci-fi visual drama, but delivered legal and business nightmares. The DeLorean DMC-12 remains one of the most iconic flops. Stylish, futuristic, but deeply flawed in reality. John DeLorean teamed up with designer Giorgetto Giugiaro and Lotus engineers to build a car with gull-wing doors and a stainless steel body. But that's where good looks ended. Under the hood, it was underpowered. Its PRV-V6 engine produced about approximately 130 horsepower, meaning it struggled to match expectations for what it looked like. Build quality was inconsistent.
The DeLorean. Gull-wing doors rise effortlessly, beckoning you inside.
Misaligned panels, electrical issues, leaks, especially around the gull-wing door seals. There were massive cost overruns, production delays, and DeLorean's personal legal troubles, which scared off investors. Without volume sales, it couldn't sustain its operations and folded. After seeing a design fantasy crash and burn, let's move on to a car that looked futuristic but was built too heavy and too oddly. When it debuted, the AMC Pacer was billed as the car of the future. It had massive glass areas, a wide body to make it feel roomy, and a stylish, unconventional shape. But all the novelty buried serious problems. First, it was overweight. Safety regulations, thick glass, and oversized doors made it much heavier than other compacts.
The Pacer's so wide and has so much room, you can fit a Pinto or a Vega.
That meant lousy fuel economy, very important in mid-70s oil shocks, sluggish acceleration, and high cost to run. Also, the huge windows made the passenger cabin like a greenhouse. Hot, uncomfortable. Styling was polarizing and gradually became tiresome. AMC tried a facelift, even added a wagon version, but demand slid rapidly. By 1979, production dropped sharply, and the Pacer couldn't save AMC from financial problems. From this wide-glass oddity, we shift to a car whose safety scandals became national headlines. The Ford Pinto promised inexpensive mobility. It was small, cheap, and meant to compete with imports. But it failed in one critical area: safety. The gas tank was placed behind the rear bumper and close to sharp components like the differential housing. In rear-end collisions, the tank and filler neck could rupture, leak fuel, ignite, and people could die or be badly injured. Internal documents later revealed Ford knew of the risk before production, but delayed fixes because of cost.
77 Ford Pinto.
With this new optional glass hatchback, exciting new front-end styling.
Legal cases and public outrages destroyed consumer trust. Sales dropped. Ford recalled over 1.5 million Pintos, and its reputation took lasting damage. Even though it sold many units, the Pinto is remembered as a cautionary tale rather than a success. After that firestorm, let's go back to GM's trouble with handling and how one car flew too close to criticism. GM's Corvair was designed to compete with European imports like the Beetle, rear engine, air-cooled, compact, but its engineering had crucial missteps.
You want proof that the Corvair can give you more of what you're looking for in a compact car.
Early models used swing-axle rear suspension that, combined with heavy weight in the back and sensitive tire pressures, made handling treacherous, especially in tight turns or when pushed. Ralph Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed, singled out these faults, sparking sparking regulatory and public outcry. General Motors attempted fixes, revised suspension, better tires, etc., but by then, consumer trust was shaken. The United States safety standards grew tougher, and Corvair's sales declined. Compounding that were stronger, more modern competitors, and the public assuming all rear-engine cars were unsafe. Even though later models improved, the early damage was too large. The Vega was supposed to be General Motors' small car savior against Japanese imports. Initially praised for its sleek design and affordability, it quickly fell apart.
The Folster family introduces Chevy car. Vega is a family in itself.
Literally. The aluminum engine block had durability issues, overheating often led to warped heads, and rust protection was so poor that some Vegas showed corrosion within just 2 years. Consumer reports labeled it unreliable, and word of mouth spread fast. Sales nosedived, costing GM credibility in the compact car market it was trying to dominate. In hindsight, the Vega became a textbook case of rushing production and cutting corners. Now, if GM's failure was about poor engineering, our next car shows what happens when style clashes with brand identity. The Thunderbird started in 1955 as a stylish two-seater personal luxury car. Buyers loved it. But in 1958, Ford turned it into a bigger, heavier four-seater nicknamed the Square Bird.
A Thunderbird is adventure. A Thunderbird says action. There shall be light wherever it goes.
Sales were decent at first, but critics and loyal fans hated the shift. The Thunderbird lost the sporty, intimate feel that made it special. It became bloated, less fun to drive, and struggled against rising competition. While Ford kept the line alive, the late 50s misstep damaged the model's identity. In car culture memory, the Square Bird is seen as when the Thunderbird lost its way. That said, brand identity wasn't the only issue. Sometimes a bold idea was simply too far ahead of its time, like the Chevrolet SSR decades later. But before that, let's look at another 70s flameout. When gas prices soared in the 1970s, General Motors thought diesel was the future. Oldsmobile developed a V8 diesel engine to drop into sedans and station wagons. On paper, great idea.
This is the world's first diesel V8. Each is available. So now, the car you want, the economy you need.
In practice, a nightmare. The engine was built off a gasoline design, not a true diesel platform, leading to catastrophic reliability issues. Head gasket failures, injector pump problems, and weak blocks were common. To make it worse, American gas stations didn't always have clean diesel, which compounded failures. By the mid-80s, GM's diesel experiment had poisoned consumer trust in diesel cars altogether. Even today, Oldsmobile diesel is shorthand for disaster. But while Olds failed under the hood, another 1970s GM car failed right on the showroom floor. The Monza was supposed to be General Motors' sporty response to the oil crisis. It looked sharp and had a variety of engine options, including a small block V8 shoehorned under the hood.
White striped tires and tinted glass. Formal roof with lots of class. Monza is the one!
But getting that V8 in meant mechanics had to literally lift the engine out just to change spark plugs. Beyond that, the Monza was plagued by build quality issues, rattling interiors, rust, and mediocre performance from its four-cylinder options. Buyers who wanted economy felt cheated, while those who wanted speed were disappointed. The Monza ended up stuck in the middle with no loyal audience. GM quietly killed it in 1980, and it's mostly remembered now as wasted potential. Now, if the Monza was forgotten, the next car became unforgettable, just for the wrong reasons, the Pontiac Aztek. But first, let's close the 70s with another short-lived dream. The Chrysler TC was born from a partnership between Chrysler and Maserati, aiming for an affordable yet exotic two-seater.
When Maserati builds a new convertible, a 16-valve electronic fuel-injected Maserati Turbo.
Unfortunately, the TC landed in a weird no-man's land. It looked too similar to the cheaper Chrysler LeBaron, but cost far more. Performance was underwhelming despite having Maserati's name on it, and reliability issues only made things worse. Buyers were confused. Why spend luxury money for something that looked like a dressed-up LeBaron? Sales never took off. Only about 7,300 units were made before Chrysler quietly ended the project. Today, it stands as an example of how badge engineering across mismatched brands almost never works. The Hudson Jet was supposed to save the Hudson Motor Car Company by entering the compact car market. But instead of sleek and innovative, it came out plain and boxy. Styling was criticized as dull compared to flashy 50s Chevrolets and Fords. Worse, it was priced too high for its class, costing nearly as much as larger cars that offered more space and power. Sales were dismal, and Hudson's financial health sank further until the company merged with Nash to form American Motors Corporation in 1954.
In 55, you could get the Hudson jet engine or the Hudson flathead Hornet engine.
The jet's failure is remembered as the final nail in Hudson's coffin. If Hudson flopped with small cars, Studebaker soon showed that even sleek ideas could backfire, like with the Avanti. The Avanti was a bold, fiberglass-bodied coupe marketed as America's answer to European sports cars. Designed by Raymond Loewy's team, it had futuristic lines, advanced features like front disc brakes, and a lot of hype. But Studebaker's weak finances and production delays killed momentum. Demand outstripped the company's ability to deliver, frustrating buyers. Add to that quality control issues, and the Avanti fizzled after just about 5,800 units in 2 years. Studebaker closed U.S. production not long after.
And I remember as a kid riding up there with my dad and a couple other family members, and my dad...
Though it has cult fans today, at the time it was seen as a spectacular commercial flop. Where the Avanti died from poor production, our next car, the Chevrolet Citation, shows how hype followed by scandal can be just as deadly. Launched with huge fanfare as GM's first front-wheel drive compact, the Citation even won Motor Trend Car of the Year in 1980. But customers soon found out it was a lemon. Brake problems, transmission failures, electrical issues, and recalls piled up quickly. Lawsuits hit GM, and buyers lost faith fast. By 1985, sales had collapsed, and the Citation became a case study in how rushing technology without proper testing can ruin a reputation.
Chevy Citation is compact enough to fit into 3/4 of a parking space.
It's now considered one of the worst American cars of the 80s, despite its early promise. Next, let's shift from a mass-market flop to Chrysler's attempt at European flair. Chrysler imported the Plymouth Cricket from its British arm, Roots Group, to give Americans a fuel-efficient subcompact, but quality was abysmal. The Cricket was notorious for rusting quickly, breaking down often, and having weak parts that couldn't handle American driving conditions. Dealers struggled to get replacement parts, and angry buyers abandoned the model almost immediately. Chrysler pulled the plug within 2 years.
The only place to catch a Roadrunner is at your Plymouth dealers,
making the Cricket one of the shortest-lived U.S. nameplates. Today, it's often listed among Chrysler's worst miscalculations. If Chrysler's Cricket failed because of poor imports, the next car shows how even Ford could flop with homegrown design. Launched during the oil crisis, the Mustang II was Ford's downsized answer to soaring gas prices. Smaller, lighter, and based on the Pinto platform, it abandoned the muscle car image that made the original Mustang legendary. While early sales were decent due to timing, the car quickly gained a reputation as underpowered and cheaply built.
It's incredible, and it's mine.
Take a closer look at the new Mustang II.
Enthusiasts hated it, and it became symbolic of how badly the Mustang brand lost its way in the 70s. Although it sold nearly 1.1 million units, the i2's poor reputation lingers, and collectors generally shun it. Today, it's remembered as one of Detroit's most disappointing compromises. The Mercury Capri was marketed as Mercury's sporty answer to the Mustang, sharing much of its DNA with Ford's pony car. While the European Capri had a decent reputation, the Americanized version never found its footing. Buyers saw little reason to choose a Capri over the Mustang, which had stronger brand loyalty and similar pricing. The Capri also suffered from Ford's 1970s to 80s quality control woes, cheap interiors, reliability issues, and mediocre performance with emissions-choked engines. Sales were lukewarm, and by 1986, the model quietly disappeared. The Capri highlighted Mercury's long-running identity crisis.
The 1980 Mercury Capri RS. Ease on down with a sexy European look.
The brand never managed to stand out from Ford, and the Capri's flop underscored that problem. From Mercury's misfire, let's head over to Oldsmobile, a once proud brand that stumbled badly with the Oldsmobile Firenze. The Oldsmobile Firenze was GM's attempt to give Oldsmobile a small, fuel-efficient compact during the import boom of the 1980s. Built on the J-body platform, shared with the Chevy Cavalier and Pontiac Sunbird, it suffered the curse of badge engineering. Buyers weren't fooled. It looked and felt almost identical to its cheaper siblings, yet carried a higher price tag. Mechanical reliability was poor, plagued with electrical glitches, weak transmissions, and rust issues. Oldsmobile's older customer base wasn't interested in small cars, and younger buyers saw it as overpriced and boring.
Standard 4-speed manual transaxle, Firenze offers impressive fuel economy estimates.
By 1988, sales collapsed, and the Firenze quietly left the market. Its failure reflected the erosion of Oldsmobile's identity, which contributed to the brand's eventual death. After Oldsmobile's flop, let's see how Chrysler tried luxury with the Imperia. Reviving the Imperial badge, Chrysler pitched this early 80s personal luxury coupe as a competitor to Cadillac and Lincoln. On paper, it had potential: digital instrumentation, bold styling by Elwood Engel and Lee Iacocca's blessing. But execution fell flat. The car's notorious electronic fuel injection system constantly failed, leaving dealers and owners frustrated. Interiors were plush but cheaply assembled, leading to squeaks, rattles, and reliability headaches. Sales were disastrous.
It's time for Imperial, a new luxury car with everything standard from electronic fuel injection.
Only about 12,000 were sold across 3 years. The Imperial quickly became a money pit for Chrysler at a time when the company desperately needed hits. Its failure showed how slapping a luxury badge on a troubled platform couldn't compete with Cadillac's well-established reputation. From Chrysler's luxury letdown, we jump to a sporty Pontiac that went down as one of the 80s biggest flops. The Pontiac Fiero was hyped as America's mid-engine sports car, a radical move in the 1980s. Early buyers loved the futuristic looks, but problems surfaced almost immediately. Pontiac marketed it as a commuter car to dodge performance expectations, so it came with underpowered 4-cylinder engines and lackluster handling. Worse, poor engineering led to infamous engine fires. Some Fieros literally went up in smoke. Even after improvements in later years, the Fiero's reputation was ruined.
Has the Fiero GT improved as a sports car? Well, inside, the answer is yes.
By 1988, GM killed the program, leaving behind fewer than 400,000 units produced. Ironically, later models were genuinely good, but by then, it was too late. Today, the Fiero is remembered as a cautionary tale of rushing innovation without proper quality control. If Pontiac's Fiero burned bridges, the next and final entry shows how even Lincoln could lose its way with the Lincoln Versailles. The Lincoln Versailles was Ford's direct response to Cadillac's popular Seville, aiming to deliver a smaller, luxury compact during the fuel crisis. Instead of creating something new, Lincoln rebadged a Mercury Monarch, itself a fancy Ford Granada, slapped on some luxury trim, and raised the price. Buyers immediately noticed. It was a glorified Granada at Cadillac-level pricing. Critics panned its uninspired styling, cramped interior, and weak performance. Worse, its timing was awful. Luxury buyers wanted innovation, not rehashed sedans.
The pleasure of driving in total luxury with the ride, styling, and prestige of a Lincoln Continental.
Sales never took off, and by 1980, the Versailles was discontinued. Its failure damaged Lincoln's prestige and showed how badge engineering could ruin brand credibility in the luxury segment.